Hey, what's happening guys? I'm Ikahime and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about comics and most importantly, how to start your comic and what you need to do after you have thought of an idea for your comic. Now before we start this video, I do want to take a moment to let you know that I do have my merch still available and they can be purchased through the links in my pinned tweet. The link will be down in the description box down below. If you could please check that out. Any and all support is greatly appreciated and you get a chance to take home some really cool merch. So I mean, what's cooler than that, right? So the links for that will be in the description box down below. Now back to what we were talking about. So when you're making your comic and you've kind of thought of the idea that you want, you need to know what you're going to do with it. You need to have a direction to go in, and that means that you're going to have to create outlines and scripts, and you're going to have to do all the not so fun stuff that goes into making a comic because you can't really just pants a comic very well. You have to have a direction for where you're going. So basically this video is going to be talking about how you can turn your story and your outline, which this is done on paper and this is an old outline for something that I'm not working on right now. This is the outline. It is done on paper, but I will be showing you a typed version and how to go about writing your script and the things that you need to do to make sure that you have all of the information you need and that you're fully ready to make your comic when the time comes for you to actually start drawing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, one more thing before we get started on the script writing and outlining stuff. I did forget to mention there is one method that I use for developing my plot before I move on to officially typing my outline, and I actually use index cards for this. This is something that I know a lot of like novel authors do, but I found it super duper helpful. So basically you just take an index card and you write down major plot points and you just kind of organize them in a timeline, and then you be able to visualize where your plot holes are and what things you want to expand on more, and you can just kind of go about it like that, and you just fill in the different plot things and different ideas that you have, and this way you can move around stuff when you feel like something isn't in the right place, or you can add things when you feel like they're lacking, or you can remove things really easily without having to go back and like type and stuff. So yeah, I use index cards. It does take up a lot of space, so I recommend laying them out on the floor when you're doing this. Doing this kind of took a while and it took a lot of space, but it's super helpful and it's really helpful. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know in the comment section down below and I'll kind of show you how I go about doing that part. But for today, we're just going to be talking about like the typing, the outline, and the script stuff. So yeah, all right, back to the video. Okay, so you guys are officially ready to start your comic and you have no idea where to start. Well, not to worry, because I got you, fam. I've been there and I'm here to share with you what I know. You may notice that I don't have a drawing app open right now. I actually have a writing app. You can use OpenOffice, which is what I use, or you can use Microsoft Word, whatever. Anything you can type in is preferred. So the first step to making your comic has nothing to do with drawing at all. The first step is actually after you have kind of conceptualized your idea and you kind of have a direction, an idea of a direction that you want to go in, you're actually going to have to write your outline. And for those of you that don't know, the outline is kind of the bare bones of your story. This is the major plot points, your ideas that you're going to be using or trying to use when it comes down to actually officially writing your story. This is where a lot of people mess up. A lot of people forget or they have no idea that they need to do an outline. If you're a pantser, which is probably more so relevant to being a novel author, this step doesn't really apply to you. A pantser is someone that basically just wings it the whole time, and it is not super successful unless you are really, really good at it. I know that there are a lot of pantser authors out there, but they're just very uncommon, very few and far in between. Most people are going to go with the outline as shown here. This is what I do. This is what I've done for all of my stories, and it is the best way for me to visualize what is going to happen and what I need to change and what plot holes I need to fix. Plot holes are going to be a killer for your story, so you need to make sure you're working as well as you can to kind of eliminate any plot holes. I cannot tell you how many comics I have read that have blaring plot holes because they didn't really go back and reanalyze their story. So basically, you want to get rid of your plot holes. So yeah. All right, we're gonna get started. I'm going to do an example piece for this video. We'll be talking about the outline and the script part. Comics in general, in my opinion, they're not for the faint of heart. They are a lot of work, and a lot more work, in my opinion, than writing a novel, because you have not only the outline and the writing portion to do, but you actually have to draw it, which we will get to in a different video. This is just going to be the getting you ready for your outline and script stuff. So we're gonna go with let's go with like a basic, maybe shoujo thing. Like, let's go with, maybe we'll go magical girl, okay? We'll do magical girl genre. Here's your idea. So you are thinking you want, let's just say we have a girl who is our main character, finds an object, turns into a magical girl, and has to fight the forces of evil. This is a very basic, bare bones idea. So now you kind of have your story in a nutshell. And right now, what you need to do is you need to take your outline and expand on the idea of your story. You have to work out, like what your object is going to be, what your evil is going to be, who your antagonists are, who your protagonists are, who your characters are. You'll need to think of all of that stuff, of course. And you can kind of work on that stuff as you go in your outline, because it's almost impossible to know all of the characters you're going to need for your story before you start writing it. So sometimes you may end up in a part of the story that requires another character that you didn't think about. You'll kind of develop the characters as you go a little bit, but you need to have the basics of like how many characters you're kind of focusing on, really, and what the objects and stuff are. So we're gonna start out with, a girl goes to school. Maybe something happens and she gets detention or something. She looks out the window and sees something suspicious. So here we already are kind of hitting the inciting incident of the story. We're kind of setting up what the story's about and, the things that are kind of going on. Your inciting incident, it can kind of happen wherever, depending on what kind of story you're doing. If you're doing like a slice of life turning into an action thing, which is kind of what my comic is, my inciting incident doesn't actually happen for a while. However, I do have a little bit of, I do have bits and pieces that kind of lead up to the inciting incident, but in most cases, if you're making like a typical action or suspense or something, your inciting incident is typically going to happen in about the first chapter. That's something to think about. So here we've this is going to be our first chapter kind of idea. So we've already seen kind of like an incident, and maybe a museum jewel gets stolen, which would be like the official inciting incident, I believe. And from here, you just kind of determine how you want to separate it out. So, all right, we want this to be chapter 1. So this is chapter 1. So she sees something suspicious outside, and maybe we want the inciting incident to actually be in the beginning of chapter 2. So we will separate that out and we'll have chapter 2 here. Now we've kind of done this thing, and you kind of just expand on that. So this is kind of a short and condensed version of what my outline actually looks like. I usually run through and I kind of add all of the details that I want to add into my story, and then I separate them into chapters based on what I feel would be a good amount of information to add to a chapter. I also will occasionally, if I discover that something that I've included in one chapter can be split into 2 chapters, I will do that just for the convenience of script writing and drawing. I don't really want a super long, 50-page chapter if I can actually avoid that. So sometimes I'll go through and I will make a breaking point in the middle of it and divide a chapter in half if one I feel gets too long. So now we have our basics here. Finds a special necklace that has magic, and then she turns into a magical girl, and there are your first 2 chapters. So here we get down to the actual script part, which there's no real set way of writing your script. I've seen it done a few different ways. I'm not professional at writing scripts. I'm very basic in what I do. The script is basically where your story is going to come together. You're going to take the ideas that you had in your outline and you're going to expand on them. So say our first character is named Mira. Let's say that her name is Mira, our little magical girl. We will kind of imply something like maybe she's running late to school, because that's something that always happens. We've established that she is running and she's late to school, and her dialogue will be, "Oh, I hope I get there on time." So now we have the action and we have the dialogue. So this kind of establishes the scene and for how you're going to apply it to your panels. So here we're going to kind of describe the scenery. So she's running down the sidewalk, she gets to the school, and the bell rings before she gets inside. So your asterisks here, which you can do whatever you want, this is just how I do it, they're going to determine the scene. This is not dialogue stuff, this is just stage setting. This is going to be where you're describing the things around them. Maybe you're describing what another character is doing, how two characters are interacting with each other. If she were to look around a corner and see someone like doing something suspicious, you would kind of describe that. So that's basically what the asterisk things are for. Let's say that she has a friend. Maybe she walks into class. So she walks into class, she sits next to her friend, and we'll call her friend, let's say Maya. Her name is Maya. All right, so her friend's name is Maya, and her friend, what does she do? She's going to leans over to Mira and whispers, "What took you so long?" So this is just a very basic kind of dialogue conversation going on. So we have also established what this character is doing and what they're saying. So this is, again, going to determine how you panel it, how you draw it, what the emotions are. And that's basically it. That's how you're going to run your entire script. You can go by different organization. This is just kind of the thing that I do. And this is chapter 1. So you write your whole script and then you get down to chapter 2 and so on and so on. So it's very, very, very basic, but this is the general idea of what you're going to have to do. And I recommend, before actually getting to the drawing the comic part or doing the layouts, is to have like 10 chapters of your script written. This way you can kind of fix things that need to be fixed along the way as you're writing, and you have enough of a buffer that, you know, you're pretty solid in your first chapters and such, so you can kind of expand from there and you have a good direction for where you're going before you actually start. Because the worst thing in the world is to be working on your comic, only have the first chapter written, draw the entire first chapter, then work on the second chapter and then start drawing that and realize that you don't like the way the first chapter works out and you want to change things and you have to go back and redraw the entire first chapter. It's just kind of not really a fun thing to do. So you're gonna want to avoid that as much as possible. So I just highly recommend you write at least 10 chapters. Then you can just start working on your layouts, which we will discuss in an entirely separate video from this. They're kind of just a whole topic on their own, really. And, you know, I can combine the outline and the script because that's really simple and it goes together. But when we get to the start of the drawing stuff is when things start to change up a little bit. But I hope that this helped give you an idea of where you're going. Basically, it's just your outline is going to be your bare bones. Your script is going to be your story. I don't think it's necessary to write in novel form for this. However, I have seen some comic artists write in novel form to help get a feel for their characters and their interactions and mannerisms, and that's totally fine. I personally feel like it takes way too long. I am not all about spending a lot of extra time on a project that is already going to take a long time. So if you were like serializing your comic or something, obviously you'd have your outline and script pretty well done, and at least have an idea of where you're going. But when you're serializing, you don't really have time to just kind of enjoy the novel writing aspect of it. If you were working like that, you kind of have to just plug and chug as much as you can, because that would be something that would be coming out like weekly or monthly or bi-monthly. So you actually have to like be working really fast, and taking extra time writing out a novel for your story when you're also writing a script is just probably not the way to go. This is just my 2 cents. This is kind of what I do. I hope that it was helpful to you. So that's all I got for you today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you have any questions or concerns or anything that I didn't explain well enough, or you'd like me to go more in depth on, please do feel free to leave that in the comment section. I love hearing from you guys, and I will try to respond to as many people as I can. If you like my content and you want to be updated every time I post a new video, please do hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. That would be super helpful. That way you'll be updated every time I post a new video. As I said in the beginning of this video, my merch is available for sale in my pinned tweet. Do feel free to check that link in the description description box down below. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Buy some cool stuff, okay? Alright, I hope that you liked this video, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!